Back in high school, I fell for someone. His family was wealthy, while mine had barely enough to get by. To buy him a graduation gift, I took a part-time job at a karaoke bar. On his birthday, I overheard his friends laughing loudly outside the private room. A belt as a gift for a guy? Clara, the top student, must be trying to control Michael below the waist. Kinky much? Michael swung the belt around in his hand, replying with a mocking sneer. God knows where Clara got this cheap crap. Wore it for a bit and I got a rash. Wouldn't even use it as a collar for my dog. Later, I threw away the belt and left town, but I heard that Michael went crazy trying to find me. Chapter 1. When I walked through the door, Michael froze for a moment. The guy who had been teasing him looked awkward, coughed, and picked up his juice to cover his expression. I looked at the belt tossed on the table. The leather had started to crack. The edges had bite marks, clearly from a dog. It looked cheap and worn. It hadn't been expensive, around 800 yuan, but that was my entire semester's living allowance. To buy it, I had saved money for months and worked extra shifts at the KTV after graduation, just to give it to Michael before college started. I quietly placed the fruit tray on the table, picked up the belt, and without looking at him, murmured, "If you didn't like it, you could have just given it back. I'm sorry for bothering you." I didn't look at his face. I just gripped the belt tightly and walked out of the room, humiliated. I stood outside for a while. Laughter and chatter returned quickly from inside. A manager passed by and saw me zoning out. She reminded me to hurry up and clean. In my heart, I told myself, "Look, Clara, you were never part of their world. This is the last time you try to reach beyond your place. Don't do it again." From that day on, I made up my mind never to bother Michael again. I just didn't expect I'd leave in that kind of way. After leaving the KTV, I went to the market. From far away, I saw my mom standing by her stall, gutting fish. I walked over and silently helped her weigh the goods and collect money. After closing up, she bought a pound of pork belly, nicely marbled, the kind of meat we normally couldn't afford. Instinctively, I tried to stop her and pointed to the cheaper cut. "Mom, that one's good enough." She took my hand in hers, rough but warm, and said, "Clara, you must be hungry. I'll make you some braised pork tonight." We went home, a small apartment just over 40 square meters. It was the place where my mom and I relied on each other. The braised pork she made was rich and fragrant, full of spices. I shoveled rice into my mouth like I hadn't eaten in days. After I finished the dishes, she pulled out an envelope filled with money. I was confused. Gently tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear, she said, "I spoke with your uncle. You'll go to college over there. He can help keep an eye on you. But school doesn't start for another half a month. Go early. Buy a ticket for tomorrow morning. I have to open the stall. I won't be able to send you off." Chapter 2. Early the next morning, I stood by the bus stop with my suitcase, clutching the envelope, my anxiety growing by the second. People boarded the bus one after another. The driver kept urging everyone to get on, but I didn't respond. Suddenly, I turned around and ran back home. The house was empty. I tore through drawers and cabinets until I found it, under a pile of utility bills. A medical report, end-stage renal disease. It hit me like lightning. I collapsed to the floor, unable to breathe. I should have seen it. Mom had been using the bathroom more frequently, nearly fainting a couple of times, brushing it off as fatigue. But what was I doing back then? Running around working part-time jobs just to buy a gift for Michael. I slapped myself over and over, furious at how little care I had shown her. I called her phone. A nurse answered. Her voice rushed and urgent. "Finally, we've been trying to reach the patient's family. Please come quickly. Her condition is critical." At the hospital, the doctor told me that unless a matching kidney donor was found, dialysis was the only way to keep her alive, costing around 100,000 yuan a year. With trembling hands, I pulled out the envelope. "We have money," I said. "Do the dialysis. Please help my mom." Mom's eyes were bloodshot. She held my hand and gripped the envelope tightly, choking on her words. I cried uncontrollably. "I won't go to college. I can work. I can earn money. I'll get you treated. I swear I will. It's just a kidney. We'll find one. Mom, please don't leave me. I'm begging you." By the end, I could barely speak through the sobs. For as long as I could remember, there had never been a dad, just Mom. raising me alone. I was her everything. When I was little, I didn't understand. I complained about being born into poverty, and once I even questioned her sharply, demanding to know why everyone else had a dad. But I didn't. Later, I finally came to understand how hard life had been for her. I studied hard and got into a good university. Just a few more years, that's all I needed. I would have had the power to pull her out of that pit. So why now? Why did this have to happen now? After her dialysis, she seemed even weaker. I helped her home. I curled up in her arms, thinking about how many jobs I could find tomorrow, and drifted into sleep. When I woke up, she was gone. A wave of panic crushed me. I rushed out to look for her, only to bump straight into a police officer. "Are you Clara? Your mother fell off a cliff. Please come with us to identify the body." I went cold all over. At dawn, I got up like a machine and walked into the bathroom to wash up, toothpaste foam in my mouth. I turned and shouted toward the door, "Mom, what's for breakfast?" No one answered. I mumbled to myself, "Let's just have congee. Can you slice me some cucumber?" I missed her pickled cucumber. I wanted some. It's been 7 years. 7 years since Mom left me, yet I still feel like she's right here. I dream about her often. At night, we're together. Then I wake up and go to work. Sometimes I wonder if daytime is the dream, and the nights with her are what's real. I told my doctor this theory. He sighed, scribbled some notes, and finally handed me the report, major depressive disorder. He said I needed regular treatment. I agreed to everything. Then I walked out of the hospital and threw the medicine in the trash, just like I'd thrown away that belt 7 years ago. Every day, I'm filled with regret. If I hadn't been so obsessed with Michael back then, maybe I would have noticed Mom's illness sooner. If I'd saved the money I spent on that belt, maybe I could have paid for one more dialysis session. Maybe then, she wouldn't have taken her own life. So sometimes, I hallucinate. Classmates from high school point and whisper, "So pathetic." People from my village accuse me of being unfilial. Michael stands off to the side, holding his dog. The dog has a belt in its mouth. I wave them away. I'm not pathetic. I loved my mom. Smack. The hallucination shattered. My toothbrush had hit the mirror. Foam splattered across the glass. I touched my reflection, thin, hollow-eyed, haunted. I was exhausted, and I missed Mom so much. I had to find her. Chapter 3. The train rumbled along. I sat by the window, listening to the noise around me, children crying, old folks shouting, a train attendant yelling about lunch boxes while pushing a food cart. Only the noise made me feel less alone. It had been a long time since I'd been in such a lively place. "Hey, sweetie, is this seat taken?" I looked up. A woman stood beside me, her hair neatly coiled, makeup immaculate, clothes stylish, a sharp contrast to her bold, chatty energy. She looked full of life. I shook my head. She plopped down beside me. Finally! A seat. I'm exhausted. "You heading to City C too?" Well, look at that. We're headed the same way. My girlfriends already went ahead on vacation. I had something at home. Missed the high-speed tickets. Ugh. This train ride is killing me. My legs are gonna fall off. "You eat chicken wings?" "Boneless. My son made them." "You want some strawberry preserves?" "Specialty from my hometown." "Clara, you're dressed too light. Here, take this mink scarf. Put it on." "Oh, so pretty on you." At the station, when I said goodbye to the woman, her name was Sandra, I felt lighter than I had in years. In my 25 years, I'd never felt such unfiltered, enthusiastic kindness. For a moment, I thought, maybe if I keep moving, keep meeting people, keep seeing the world, maybe I'll stop drowning in the shadows of my past. Until a familiar voice called out in surprise, "Clara, it's really you." I looked up. It was Leo, the boy from 7 years ago, the one who joked in the private room about me being wild. Cold crept through my veins. In a flash, I felt like I was back in high school again, surrounded by pointing fingers and sneering voices. Clara, so pathetic. Chapter 4. Leo asked for my contact information, saying there would be a class reunion in a few days and that I had to come. I didn't really care. I could go, if I was still around by then. I returned to the place Mom and I had called home. After 7 years, the house was covered in dust. falling apart. I cleaned from day to night, then lay on the bed in a daze. I imagined myself lying in her arms, holding her while she held me, just like 7 years ago. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Annoyed, I picked it up and saw Leo had added me to our old class group chat. Leo, welcome back. Clara, our resident top student. The replies came one after another. Wow, Leo actually found a missing person. Clara? Who's that? The top student back in school used to follow Michael around. The one who gave Michael that dog collar? LOL. Still hasn't gotten over it after all these years? Michael, poor guy. Girls who cling like that are so embarrassing. Try having some self-respect. I stared coldly at their messages. Back then, I never thought expressing love was something to be ashamed of. I had never hidden my feelings. I just didn't realize that in their eyes. It was something so pathetic. The words on screen started to take shape. In a haze, I saw Michael standing in the middle of the crowd, holding his dog, wearing that mocking smirk. Clara, you're not even good enough to be my dog. I couldn't breathe. What was I still waiting for? Why hadn't I gone to find Mom yet? Go find her. Be with her. Never be apart again. The sharp ring of my phone pulled me back. The kitchen knife had already cut into my skin. I put the knife down. Not here. Not now. I answered the call. On the other end was a lively voice. Clara, what are you doing? I found my hometown friend, thanks to your directions. Gotta hand it to you locals. These streets are so different from back home. By the time I hung up, I was sitting on the bed. The knife was gone from my hand, the blood on my wrist already dry. The group chat kept pinging. Leo, as the admin, had just posted the reunion details. I checked the location. It was on the same road to the cemetery. Fine, I'd go. See them one last time. Like a farewell to the world. Chapter 5. By the time I arrived, the private room was already full. As I walked in, the chatter died instantly. Clearly, I wasn't a welcome guest. I scanned the room. Only 2 seats were left at the main table, clearly not meant for me. Leo, ever the host, stood up and pulled out the chair beside him. Clara, sit here. Before I could move, someone voiced their objection. Why should she sit there? That seat's for Michael. He'd be disgusted if she sat in it. The speaker was Elise. Back in high school, she had openly crushed on Michael. Bold, rebellious, she had never liked me. She smirked. Seriously, Clara? You actually came? No one even saved you a seat. If you had any sense, you'd leave. Michael's on his way, and just seeing you will kill his appetite. How awkward would that be? Someone at the table frowned. You're not Michael. How would you know what he thinks? It's been years. We're just old classmates. Let it go. Elise scoffed. Am I wrong though? Who doesn't get annoyed being stalked by someone they don't like? Another voice chimed in, cutting her off. Enough. Who said Michael hates Clara? Michael. He. Elise let out a snort, like she'd heard a joke. Don't hate her? What? Does he like her now? Does he like that dog collar she gave him? Or her lovely scent of raw fish that makes you want to puke? Oh right, what's our top student Clara doing these days? Still selling fish at the market with her mom? No wonder we haven't seen her in years. None of us exactly go looking for people at the wet market. That's enough. You're out of line. I stood at the doorway, full of regret. Elise was right. No one wanted me here. All I'd done was make them uncomfortable. I opened my mouth to say something, but in the end, decided there was no point. Sorry for bothering everyone. With that, I turned and left. As the door shut behind me, I faintly heard Leo's angry voice. Elise, what the hell is wrong with you? Do you know how hard I worked to get her here? Do you even know what Michael? Leo chased after me. Clara, wait, don't go. This time, I ignored him. I told the cab driver to head to the cemetery. Then I took out my phone and exited the group chat. Chapter 6. I sat in front of Mom's grave for a long time. Before coming, I had so much I wanted to say, but staring at the photo on her tombstone, it felt like my throat had sealed shut. Not a single word could come out. It's okay, I thought. I'll be seeing her soon anyway. By the time it got dark, I was already at the base of the mountain. There wasn't much nightlife in the village. Everything was quiet. I climbed step by step. The trees blocked the moonlight, and I couldn't see the path. It was hard to walk. I wondered if Mom had also struggled to see the road in front of her back then. The night wind blew strong. The bottom of the cliff was pitch black. I stood at the edge for a while, then jumped. But I didn't fall. Out of nowhere, a guy appeared and grabbed my arm, shouting, "Someone! Someone fell off the mountain. I can't hold on much longer. Hang in there. Kid, I'm coming," another voice shouted. Then a few more guys rushed in, pulling me up in a mess of hands and panic. Even after I was sitting safely on the ground, I was still dazed. They surrounded me, worried. "Miss, are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? Why aren't you talking? Are you in shock? Dude, shut up. You're not helping." I finally came back to myself, looking at their anxious faces. I couldn't bring myself to say I'd been trying to end my life, so I went along with their assumption and said I'd slipped, and thanked them. The one who'd pulled me up was named Robin. He blushed as he introduced himself, muttering that his mom had insisted on that name, too girly. He said. The other three teased him, turning the whole thing into a rowdy mess. They insisted on walking me home because it was too dark. I had no choice but to give up my original plan. As we neared my place, they turned back. Watching them go, I realized I never got their contact info. I should have at least treated them to a meal. I sighed. My mind was getting worse and worse. I slowly walked the rest of the way. When I reached the door, I noticed someone standing there. It was too dark to see clearly. "Clara." He called my name. The voice was smooth, composed, one I'd heard over and over again in nightmares and hallucinations. It was Michael. In the village, there was no high school. Most kids dropped out before finishing middle school. Those who finished and managed to get into high school were rare. But Mom had always insisted I stay in school. She used to say that for people like us, education was the only way to change our fate. After the high school entrance exam, I got accepted into a prestigious private school thanks to my top scores. It was a famous school, full of elite teachers and wealthy students. Under normal circumstances, my family could never have afforded it. But every year, they recruited a few top-performing students from low-income families, waiving tuition and providing free room and board to boost their college acceptance rates. At the start of freshman year, I'd already heard of Michael. No surprise, he was gorgeous and came from money. Every day, the girls in class talked about him. Sometimes when I walked past the basketball court, I'd hear girls cheering for him. And honestly, he was handsome, tall, fair-skinned, sharp features, with a cocky grin and that boldness only teenage boys can pull off. Every shot he made sent girls screaming. I knew from the start, he and I were not from the same world, so I kept my distance from that kind of excitement. But in senior year, we ended up desk mates. The homeroom teacher told me in private that Michael's mother was one of the school's board members, and she was the one who had pushed for recruiting students from disadvantaged backgrounds. Now it was time for me to repay that kindness by tutoring Michael. I hated explaining things to him. He had so many questions, and sometimes didn't even understand the basics, especially when he twirled his pen and gave me that half smile, saying, "Song, I don't get any of this stuff." It tested my patience. Sometimes, I'd pretend I needed to use the bathroom or get water, just to escape those dumb questions. And every time I left, a crowd would take over my seat. They'd swarm around Michael, chatting away. "Wow, Michael's actually studying now? Not like you at all. Did you fall for the class nerd?" "No way." Michael's exes were all stunners. "Clara? She's painfully plain. Cue Snickers. Tired of caviar and lobster, just craving some plain rice and pickled veggies now." "Huh, right. Michael? Screw you," he said with a laugh, his tone elegant and smug. "Clara? Like I'd ever go for her. What do you think, I'm blind?" I was standing outside the door, holding a chipped thermos. When the bell rang, I returned to my seat in silence. I quietly cleaned up the gum wrappers they'd tossed onto my desk, swallowing the shame and forcing myself to stay composed so my eyes wouldn't give me away. Chapter 7. After that, they kept teasing me now and then. Eventually, most people started assuming I liked Michael just because I used to keep my head down and focus on studying. And now I was suddenly tutoring him. Elise even came to warn me, "Don't think sitting next to Michael gives you a chance. Look at yourself. You're just a bottom feeder. Stay away from the swan." After saying that, she seemed to think of something, gave a snort, and with her delicate fingers pinched her nose while fanning the air with the other hand. Do you smell that fishy stench on yourself? Disgusting. I ignored her, but it made me even more reluctant to talk to Michael. Every day I silently prayed for a seat change, but fate had other plans. When seats were rearranged a week later, I was still next to Michael. I tried to console myself, just a few more months until the college entrance exam. I just had to hold on, to avoid all the gossip. I started leaving the classroom during breaks, taking my English dictionary out to the field to memorize words, keeping my distance from Michael as much as possible. Maybe I'd been too obvious, because Michael stopped asking me questions entirely. Though we still sat together, days would pass without us saying a single word. Honestly, I was relieved. Occasionally, I'd see him around campus either surrounded by friends or walking with a pretty girl. Rumor had it she was his new girlfriend. Whenever I saw them, I'd keep my head down and walk past quickly, pretending not to notice. Chapter 8. 170 days before the college entrance exam. Something happened. Elisa's watch went missing. She stood next to the teacher crying uncontrollably, saying it was a gift from a relative abroad, worth over 50,000 yuan. At first, it had nothing to do with me, but then Elise pointed at me, yelling that I'd better give her back her watch. I had never even seen it, let alone taken it. That made her even angrier. You're the poorest one in the class. My mom could sell fish her whole life and never afford that watch. If it's not you, who else could it be? I calmly explained that I didn't even know how much the watch was worth. Why would I steal something like that? But she wasn't listening. In her mind, I was guilty. I wanted to call the police, but bringing the cops into the school would cause problems no matter who actually stole the watch. The whole situation hit a deadlock. The teacher and some classmates comforted Elise in soft voices, while I stood there, alone, isolated. Elise made a big show of searching my bag and dorm locker. She found nothing. Crowds gathered around the classroom door, curious about what was going on. Elise took the moral high ground and shouted, "Clara stole my watch and won't give it back." I'd had enough. Elise, are you even using your brain? On what basis are you accusing me? Do you have proof? You've already searched my bag and my locker, no watch. Do you just slander people like this at home too? Elise knew I was right, but the watch was expensive, and she didn't want to admit she'd been careless. So she took her frustration out on me. Suddenly, my poverty became my original sin. If not you, then who? Everyone else has a watch. They use them during tests. You're the only one who doesn't. Of course it's you. If it's not in your bag or locker, maybe it's on your body. Yeah, that's it. You're hiding it. She lunged to grab at my clothes. I couldn't let her strip me in front of everyone. I fought back. Finally, the teacher and some students stepped in to pull her off me. How do you know it was stolen? Maybe you just lost it yourself. Even in the middle of all that chaos, Michael's voice was still calm and composed. He smirked, his long eyes narrowing as he said, "Teacher, this isn't fair to Clara. Nothing's ever gone missing at school before. But Elise? She's notorious for being careless. Maybe she should check her locker and dorm instead." Elisa's face flushed deep red. She didn't dare argue with Michael. With the teacher and a few classmates watching, she finally went to check. The watch was found under her pillow. The scene finally ended. But in the struggle, my glasses had fallen off, and my hair was a mess. With my -400 vision, I couldn't find the glasses and nearly tripped on the steps. Michael caught me with one hand and held up my black-rimmed glasses with the other. As I tied my hair back, I quietly thanked him. He stared at me, silent for a moment. Then he said, "Clara, you're really beautiful." What? I didn't catch it. I squinted up at him in confusion and accidentally bumped into his chin. He winced and rubbed it. "Nothing. Is your head made of iron?" For once, he looked embarrassed. I couldn't help laughing. He clicked his tongue in mock annoyance, but then he laughed too. That evening, the sunset was stunning. It lit up his smiling face and warmed something deep inside me. After that, I no longer resisted helping Michael study. Sometimes, I even prepared notes on key topics for him. Occasionally, people would still tease him about me, but he just smiled and said nothing. Back then, he treated me kindly, bringing snacks and sweets now and then. calling them tutoring fees. There were no more girls by his side. More than once, I heard Leo ask if he was finally settling down. Michael gave a half smile and said meaningfully, "Yeah, saw a girl, pretty and smart." Leo laughed obnoxiously. "Who? Is her last name Song by any chance?" Michael didn't answer. He just laughed and shoved Leo away, then pulled out the study notes I'd given him. I sat beside him, calm-faced, scribbling in my notebook, but inside, I was a mess. I thought, maybe he liked me. That was the happiest time of my life. When I found out his birthday was 2 weeks after the college entrance exam, I started saving early. After the exam, I took a part-time job at the KTV just to buy him that belt. But in the end, I realized it was just one-sided. All the embarrassment and humiliation, I brought it on myself. It wasn't Michael's fault. Chapter 9. After 7 years, I saw the person I used to have a crush on again, but the flutter I once felt was long gone. I stood there silently, unsure why Michael was at my doorstep. I no longer naively assumed he had come looking for me. "Clara, where did you go?" His voice wasn't calm anymore. It was tight, full of pain. "Up the mountain. I mean, all these years, where have you been?" I didn't get it. What did it matter to him? We hadn't seen each other in 7 years. And now he was acting like this? I didn't want to talk to him. I pulled out my keys to open the door. As I tried to close it, he reached out and blocked it. I didn't stop in time and slammed the heavy iron door into his arm. He cried out in pain. "Sorry, are you okay?" I asked, my tone flat, the apology half-hearted. Who sticks their arm out when someone's clearly closing a door? "I'm fine," he said, pulling his hand back and giving me a quick smile. "Good." I nodded and shut the door. A while later, there was a knock. I lay on the bed, mentally and physically drained, not wanting to move. The knocking continued, persistent and annoying. I grabbed something nearby and threw it at the door. Bang. Silence. Finally, I could sleep in peace. I woke up at 5 a.m. Maybe I'd been too tired the day before, no dreams that night, which meant I didn't see Mom. I sat on the bed, dazed, thinking the cliff plan probably wasn't going to work. I'd have to find another way. Only when my stomach started burning from hunger did I remember I hadn't eaten anything yesterday. I sighed. Why do people even need to eat? What a hassle. When I went outside, I accidentally bumped into someone, holding my head. I mumbled, "Sorry, are you okay?" I looked up and instinctively took 2 steps back. 7 years later, Michael was still just as handsome, only now, he carried a bit more confidence, maturity, and calm that came with success. He held 2 bags of breakfast and smiled. "Can I come in? I brought you food." The smell made me cave. I stepped aside and let him in. We sat at the table. As I scarfed down the food, he chuckled softly, slowed down. He reached out, as if to wipe the corner of my mouth. But after so many hallucinations, my body flinched in fear. Without thinking, I stood up abruptly, pushing the chair back with a screech. "Don't touch me." There was a long silence. Michael looked visibly hurt. "I was just trying to wipe your mouth." I forced myself to calm down. "Thank you. I'm done eating. You can leave now." "Clara, can we talk?" "About what?" "About why you left without saying a word. Where you've been, if you've been okay, and why you never came back to find me." I forced a smile. "I went to college, then got a job. Life got busy. No time to come back." "You're lying." He stared at me like I just stabbed him. I was quiet for a moment. Why was he making things so hard? Couldn't he just let me have peace in these final days? I let out a bitter laugh. "Michael, why are you acting like I hurt you? What? Are you going to say you liked me? That you've waited 7 years for me? But back then, weren't you the one who said I wasn't good enough?" I met his eyes. I said the last 3 words slowly, clearly. Michael opened his mouth, but I cut him off. "You're the one who said the gift I saved up for wasn't even good enough to be your dog's collar. What kind of pathetic girl do you think I am? You think I'd let myself keep chasing after some spoiled rich boy after being humiliated like that? Why didn't I come find you?" "Because." I looked at him, full of bitterness. "I hate you." 7 years of pain and humiliation erupted at once. I stared at him with malice. "Michael, I hate you. You're the most fake, cruel person I've ever met. Just looking at you makes me sick." His expression twisted in pain. He hadn't forgotten what he'd said all those years ago. If he'd known that his arrogant teenage words would cost him the girl he loved for 7 years, he'd never have said them. All he could do was whisper, "I'm sorry," and leave in defeat. I thought I'd made myself clear. But that evening, Michael came back. It was raining hard. He stood at the door, completely drenched. As soon as I opened it, he pulled me into a tight hug. "Clara, I'm sorry. It was my fault. I shouldn't have said those things. I was too proud, too scared to admit I liked you. The moment you left, I regretted it. I asked myself 1,000 times, why didn't I go after you that day? I've been looking for you for 7 years. Please forgive me. I know you're sick, and I know your mom is gone. But from now on, I'll be by your side. Don't leave me again, please." I stared at him blankly. The boy who once mocked me was now crying in front of me, confessing love that had supposedly lasted all these years. But I found it laughable. "You didn't admit you liked me because you were too proud? You had plenty of girlfriends. Truth is, you never respected me. So why act all sincere now? Clara, come with me. I'll take you to the hospital. We'll get you treated. I'll help you get better." His tone was soft, like he was handling something precious. I didn't react. I let him pull me to a private hospital. He talked to the doctor while I sat outside in a daze. When he came out with the report, he tried to act casual. "Let's go home." He didn't say anything, and I didn't ask. It was obvious: diagnosis, major depression with suicidal tendencies. Michael took me to a new place. 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, warm and cozy. There was a puppy inside. As soon as we stepped in, it ran up to me, jumping excitedly. When I squatted down, it immediately leapt into my lap, licking me all over. I'd never seen such an affectionate little thing. I didn't dare push it away for fear of hurting it, so I just let it slobber on me. Michael laughed and picked it up, but it squirmed free and landed face first on the floor. I panicked and scooped it up. It shook its head and went right back to licking me. Michael didn't dare touch it again. He just chuckled. "It's smart, knows who's going to feed it." He scratched the pup under the chin and said gently, "When I'm not around, stay with Mom, okay?" Mom. That word hit me hard. I lowered my head and kissed the little fluff ball in my arms. Michael looked at me, then couldn't help it. He pulled both of us into a hug, burying his face in the crook of my neck. "Clara, this is your home now. I'll stay with you, always. Just get better. I know I messed up in the past. You can yell at me, hit me, whatever you want. Just please, don't disappear from my life again." I felt his tears soaking through my shirt. I sighed. Okay, if staying alive made him happy, then I'd stay alive. Chapter 10. I moved in. Michael was busy with work, but he insisted on having dinner with me every night. I listened to him. I ate on time. Went to the hospital for follow-ups on schedule. I thought maybe life would keep going like this, until his mother showed up at the door. She looked graceful and refined, but her expression was filled with superiority, and her eyes were sharp, full of judgment. I was wearing pajamas at the time, holding the little dog curled up in my arms. Her words were even harsher than Michael's used to be. "I just wanted to see what kind of woman Michael's keeping on the side. My son's great in every way, just a little too fond of playing around, whether it's actresses or models. I've let him do as he pleases over the years. I always cleaned up the mess afterward anyway. He's getting married in 2 months. He couldn't come himself. But if you've got any self-respect, take the money and leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless." After hearing her words, my heart finally settled. Michael had acted so well these past few days. I'd almost believed him again. Almost. Good thing I didn't. Would have been just another round of humiliation. I didn't take the card she handed me. I just smiled and nodded. "Got it. I'll leave right away." I had no belongings in that house. I changed into the clothes I arrived in and hesitated only briefly before taking the dog with me. Considerate payment for playing along in his little performance. I figured he wouldn't mind. I wandered the streets aimlessly, unsure where to go. The little dog nestled quietly in my arms, a warm, living creature. I had already quit my previous job. After a moment of thought, I decided to go to Sandra's city. She once said the people there were full of passion, Maybe it could warm me up too. Chapter 11. I quickly found a job and a place to live in North City. Sandra was right, people here really were passionate. According to my coworkers, though, the local phrase for it was, "You can't let this kind of word fall to the ground." I didn't quite understand it, but it sounded impressive. Even though I didn't know how to keep words from falling, I still did my best to go along with them. Every time I responded seriously with a yeah, or that's awesome, the older ladies at work would burst into uncontrollable laughter. Sometimes they'd even ruffle my hair and say, "Clara, you're so cute." I made a few friends. They often dragged me out to dinner. At the table, they'd loudly curse out greedy bosses, drink until their faces turned red and their words slurred. Then one of the female colleagues would smack someone and tell them to quiet down. Eventually, the loudest one would sneak off to pay the bill while the others would quietly split it with him through mobile transfers the next morning. Of course, not everything was harmonious. Like tonight, the table next to us exploded in a drunken argument. I saw the beer bottle flying toward us, but I didn't react in time. I closed my eyes, bracing for the pain, but it never came. When I opened my eyes, a tall figure stood in front of me. Damn, that hurts. What is wrong with these people? Embarrassing our whole North City like this. Robin kicked the bottle away and pulled me to safety. Wait, it's you. What are you doing here? I work here now. Are you okay? The police soon arrived and took the troublemakers away. I wanted to take Robin to the hospital, but he refused. It's nothing, just get some iodine from a pharmacy. I couldn't change his mind. So after saying goodbye to my coworkers, I bought antiseptic and tended to his wound at a nearby park. Robin lifted his shirt, and I froze. Despite looking slim, he had a surprisingly toned body, strong arms, defined abs. I didn't move. Embarrassed, he got shy and tried to pull his shirt back down, but I stopped him, expressionless. I cleaned his wound while mentally cursing myself. Seriously? I'm a grown woman, why am I acting like a teenage girl with a crush? This time, I didn't forget to ask for Robin's contact info. We exchanged numbers and WeChat. When we said goodbye, he insisted on walking me home. I couldn't refuse. When we reached the entrance of my apartment complex, Robin suddenly went, "Huh." I looked up, confused. "I live in the building across the street. What are the odds?" His voice was full of surprise and excitement. I followed the direction of his pointing finger, 2 buildings, directly facing each other, with only a road between them. I was still marveling at the coincidence when a woman came out of the opposite building. She paused in surprise when she saw me. Then her face lit up. "Clara, what brings you here?" Robin turned around at the voice. "Mom?" Sandra looked at the boy standing in front of her, and her eyes widened. "Son?" Chapter 12. Sometimes, you have to admit, fate really has a funny way of working. Sandra was thrilled to learn I'd settled in North City. She often invited me over for meals. And over time, I got to know Robin better, too. One evening, after work, I came home to find someone standing at my door. It was Michael, someone I hadn't seen in over 2 months. Ever since the day he tearfully apologized, I'd gradually let go of the pain. Strictly speaking, he hadn't even really done anything wrong. Now, I could greet him with ease. Long time no see. He looked thinner, worn out. Clearly, the past weeks hadn't been kind to him. Long time no see. "Clara, have you been doing okay?" I smiled. "Pretty good, actually." He gave a bitter smile. "I'm sorry. I said I'd take care of you. I didn't think my mom would throw you out." It's okay." I cut him off. "Michael, you don't need to apologize. You didn't do anything wrong." He frowned, silent for a moment. Then he reached out, gently tucking my hair behind my ear. "Come back with me." I took a step back, avoiding his hand, smiling. I asked, "And what about your fiancé?" His eyes shifted. "It's an arrangement from my family. I'll take care of it." "And your mom?" "She doesn't like me." "That's fine. She'll come around once she gets to know you. Once she sees you're a good person." "She won't." I looked him straight in the eyes, not letting him avoid it. "Your mom looks down on me. Whether I'm good or not doesn't matter. I've always been a good girl. But didn't you look down on me too? You couldn't even admit you liked me back then." Michael frowned and protested. I have admitted I was wrong. Now I can tell the whole world I love you. But I don't love you anymore, Michael. I stopped loving you a long time ago. I let out a deep breath. Finally, I said it. He stared at me, stunned. That can't be true. He muttered. Why not? I admit I had feelings for you when I was young. But 7 years is a long time. Time erodes everything, especially when it's filled with hurt. Michael, you didn't love me all that much either. You're just stuck on the past. To you, I'm just some lingering regret from your youth. But you've lived just fine without me. You've dated plenty of women over the years, haven't you? Don't torture yourself anymore. Let's just wish each other well. I stepped around him and went inside. My little dog came wobbling over, and I scooped it up into my arms. I never saw Michael again after that. Though sometimes, flowers would arrive at my office. The cards always read, "Love is a lasting presence. I'll take care of everything. When that time comes, I hope you'll give me another chance to pursue you. I'll be waiting, Michael." I would divide the flowers among my coworkers, tidy up, and head home. Robin would be waiting for me at the office entrance, ears slightly red, telling me, "Mom says come over for dinner tonight." I'd smile and get into his car. No one knows what the future holds, good or bad. I'll face it calmly, but I'll never again place my hope or happiness in someone else's hands. I know Mom is watching from above, and I know she wants me to live with joy.